Hi everybody. Hi Twisty. It's Ali here from My Mummy's Cookiness. I'm going to get straight to the point. I wanted to come here today and tell you that I'm autistic. Now, I only really had this discovery last year, but for the last, since becoming a parent, I've been managing postnatal depression because, when you stop coping on a monumental level after you have children, it's got to be postnatal depression, right? But it never felt right because there was no depression. I was not depressed. I just wasn't functioning, was not coping, and I was having meltdowns. So knowing what I know about autism, I'm surprised it didn't come to me a bit earlier. But so last year, that's when the discovery was made. Finding this out and having this diagnosis was basically the best thing that I've ever done in my life. It put so many things about who I am and how I work on the inside and how I see things on the outside. It put so much into perspective. And I kind of wasn't going to tell you because why would I? Like, you wouldn't come here and make a video telling me that you're not autistic. Like, why? What's announceable? But then I realized that's me being in my ideal world where you probably have heard my analogy before where if you think of autism like left-handed and right-handed, what's the difference? Like, we don't go around telling people we're right-handed or left-handed. So that's how I think of it. But I know that's quite idealist and I know that we're not there yet. But to get there, we do need to talk about it openly. So here I am telling you I'm exactly the same as you are. No matter how your brain works, it doesn't matter. I'm the same, I'm normal, but also I'm autistic. And I have sensory processing disorder. Let me break it down for you a little bit. Okay, lost my train of thought. That's something I do. Okay, let's start with executive functioning. Executive functioning is a thing that takes place in the front of your brain, your frontal lobe. It is where all of your decision making, your practical thinking, your attention, your focusing, your ability to make decisions, all of that stuff is your executive functioning. And it's something that until I had children, I was always able to just sort of fudge through because my life was pretty responsibility free. And I'd created a lifestyle for myself where I didn't have to make too many decisions. I never had a job. I've had little jobs, but I don't like to work all day and every day, so I've never really been employed, so I've been self-employed. So my responsibilities are up to me, and if I fudge something up, it doesn't really matter so much because it's all on me and the responsibilities are less. So I've done that. Bang, enter 2 children, and decision making, being practical, being organized, all of those things are a must. And I just sort of thought that those are the things that I'd start to develop when I became a parent. I'd get better at that. But no, I do not remember how to pack lunch bags and boxes, and I do not find it easy to follow recipes. In fact, neither of my children have ever had a birthday cake. Listen to me go. Like, I guess I'm putting myself in a bit of a vulnerable place by telling you this, but I'm just here to normalize it. Who cares that they've never had a birthday cake? It's only an enormous thing if I turn it into an enormous thing. They're perfectly happy children. So following 3-step instructions are hard. If you ask me to do something, but it's got 2 or 3 things attached to it, I'm like, what? I can't do that. I don't even know what you said. And if you ask me to do something here in this room and then I go into another room and have to do it, I just can't work out what it was I was meant to be doing, and I have to come here to this place and regroup and hang on, what was it I have to do? I don't like to say I can't. My psychologist would say I won't accept that word, Ali. So I find it difficult to do things like post letters, do my tax, return an email, return a text message, anything that I need to do to keep organized or make little decisions, to just like doing little things all through the day to get stuff done. It just all overwhelms me, and it's very hard. It's very hard. So there's my executive functioning story. Sensory processing. This is the biggest problem for me, and this is why I realized I realized for myself that I was autistic. It started with, I realized that I had sensory processing problems, and that all snowballed into, this real clarity I have about myself now, which is wonderful. But I've always had sensory problems. Texture is a really big issue for me. So those of you who know me really well know that I don't do pulp. I really don't do fruit. I don't do squishy food. And not just that, but clothes. Clothes are difficult. You'll never see me in a pair of jeans. I want to take my clothes off. I don't want to wear shoes and socks. Things scratch me and prickle me. I don't like being touched a lot of the time, unless it's like a big, hard bear hug. Okay, so these things are quite common. Like, so many people who are watching this will get it. Like 1 in 20 people experience sensory processing problems. So this is nothing like not normal. I'm totally normal. It's all cool. And what was I going to say? Okay, so bang, enter 2 children. They're on you all the time. They're touching you all the time. They're pulling your hair. They're poking you in the mouth. They're like touching you. They're, all on you, and they're making noises in your ears. So noise is a big one as well. If I hear multiple noises going on, it feels like someone's just slapping me all over my face with, I don't know, something gross, like squishy tomatoes, or my least favorite food, I don't know, kiwi fruit, something pulpy. It's the worst feeling. I cannot explain it, but it's a feeling that fills me with rage and makes me go into this dark place that is very difficult to come out of. And so once I get into that place, the rest of the day is me just trying to focus, trying to function, trying to cope while I'm in this dark, yucky place, so I can get through the day and still parent right and look after my children. So that's what it's like for me. And that is what it's like for most people with sensory processing disorder. I can explain it like this because I'm an adult and I understand. I can give you an analogy. You may have noticed that all of my videos almost are all analogies. That's how I think. I think in analogies. So the whole wishing me all over my face with kiwi fruits, I don't know if that's a great analogy or not. But anyway, it's an analogy. That's how I work. So yeah, I can explain this to you because I'm an adult and I can put it into words even if it is a stupid analogy. But a child can't really explain this. All that a child can do is get the rage, get the yucky feeling, go into the dark place, and it's very, very, very difficult. Trust me, it is so difficult getting through the day when you're in that place. It's almost impossible. And if it's almost impossible for me, it is impossible for a child. And that is why children have meltdowns all the time, because they can't stay in that awful, dark, difficult, tiring, exhausting place. Once you've had the sensory overload, it's really hard to stay there. And so kids melt down, and that's how they get out of that stage. They release it in the meltdown and it's out. It's actually quite healthy. Meltdowns are quite healthy. They're just not enjoyable. And they're exhausting. Oh yeah, there was a stage there. So verbal communication. This is when I thought that I was at my worst with postnatal depression, because that's what we all thought that I had. When I stopped being able to talk. Now, if you're a personal friend of mine, you will have noticed that I've just been off the radar for the last 3 years. I haven't really called, haven't returned messages, don't really socialize much. I need all the energy I can get for just getting through our daily routines. And then anything outside of that realm has just been like in some other dimension, somewhere I haven't even approached yet. Part of that is because I got to a point where I couldn't verbalize very well. So I'm actually pretty good at talking, I like to talk. But I got to a point where my brain was not functioning that well because of all the other things that were causing difficulties, all the sensory overload, all the exhaustion, being in this black hole that happens after you've had the sensory overload, and trying to think when you're in that space. It's like a fog. It's like a blanket that's over you and you're trying to function in this foggy black hole, and it's like, what? It's hard. So I really struggled with putting words together. I sometimes would say hello to people, but I would not be able to remember their name, even people I know really well. And I found that very difficult. But the thing that I mostly found difficult about that was because I know other people have high expectations of me. I'm a social person. I'm like talkative. I think, enjoyable to be around. I really enjoy interacting, and I love it when I bump into someone and I want to have a chat with them. And then all of a sudden, I can't think of their name and I can't work out how to say, hi, how have you been? Like, I can't answer any questions that they ask me. I just can't work out, A, what words to say, or B, how to put words together. It just, in my head, I could think it, but just nothing could come out my mouth. And it gave me a little bit of an insight into what it's like to be non-verbal or to be less verbal, because I could really see that I had it all there. Like, I know how to talk. It was just this blockage that was stopping it from coming out. And it made me realize the intelligence and all the wonderful things that are going on in the mind of someone who isn't speaking, or who we call non-verbal, and the potential there that we really don't tap into because we don't understand what it's like. And then after a while, so that was going on for a while, so there was a few weeks there actually, maybe a year or so ago, where that was happening, where I couldn't really talk. And then when I started to talk, and this happens still a bit now, I'd work out what I want to say, but then it would come out as a stutter. The beginning of the word just stutters and I just can't get it out, and it's like, but this has never happened to me before. So that was happening. That was the hardest thing that I've had, that I've experienced. The hardest thing is this sensory overload. The hardest thing is staving off a meltdown, being in that place where you're not coping at all. You are coping because you're still there and you're still surviving and you're getting through it and you're doing it. So you are coping, but you're not thriving. You're not doing anything except coping in that moment and just getting through the day. And that's awful. So that's the hardest thing. And then how it affected my ability to speak was the next hardest thing. And the ability to think straight. So there were times where I was driving in my hometown. Let's say at least 20 years I've been driving in this town, and I would try and drive somewhere where I'd been a million times before. I'd get to the intersection and I would not be able to work out which way I had to turn, or I'd get to a roundabout and not be able to picture. I just could not picture where I had to go to get to where I wanted to go. Like, I needed to just turn in a random direction and then pull over and stop and refocus and go, right, where am I going again? And then try and picture how to get there. So those things were really difficult because they're things I haven't experienced before. The last thing I'll say about autism is that mostly people think of autism as a bunch of behaviors. We think of autism as a set of behaviors, right? We don't think of someone like me who doesn't outwardly have these behaviors as being autistic. Autism isn't actually about behaviors. Autism is about what's happening in your brain. So I am considered a high-functioning autistic, right? And yeah, it's true, because I'm functioning. I'm here giving you this story. I made myself my coffee. I'm at home by myself. Got the kids to school. Yeah, I'm functioning. But how it affects me in my ability to sustain that functioning, I would consider not that functional. God, did that make sense? I hope that made sense. I've gone on to a rant, haven't I? This isn't relevant. So what was I talking about? This is another thing. I lose attention. I find it very difficult to stay on. I don't quite know how to finish this off, except that I'd like to say the stuff that I talk about on Oh My Musical Goodness is research-based information. I'm a neurologic music therapist with 6 years at uni. I'm registered as a music therapist. Everything I talk about comes from researched academic backgrounds and not my lived experience. I have been trying as hard as I can to bite my tongue and not talk about my own experience, because I don't know how I feel about all of a sudden all of you going, oh, that's how it is for her, but that might not be how it is for me. So I'm going to continue not for this to be about me. I really want you to get the facts. So if I do tell you a story about me, or if it is about my personal experience, you will know about it. I will let you know. If you have any thoughts or comments, please throw them at me, because this is totally up for discussion. Let's talk about it. Okay, bye.